we absolutely never give up, because our why, you know, our children tend to be the reason that we get up in the morning and never give up, right, in our journey. So very briefly, a little bit about me. I was raised in a single parent household. My mum's on here, on Mary's iPhone in the corner. Hi, mum. So I was raised in a single parent household, and I observed my mum go through a host of struggles. I saw my mum working 3 jobs, being tired, stressed out, you know, feeling unsupported. You know, as a child, we look at our mothers' every move. We watch how they breathe, we watch everything. And I remember thinking that life is so painful, it's so difficult. And it wasn't until I started to grow up, I started to realize that my mum didn't have to struggle. She didn't have to go through all the adversities on her own. Her family could have helped her, her friends could have helped her. There could have been different organizations involved. So very early on in my childhood, I made a promise to myself, and I committed myself spiritually to support single parent families. I became a teenage mum. I was expecting at the age of 19 with my eldest. Lashai is my eldest here. And it was very daunting. I was incredibly scared, but I was very adamant that I didn't want my daughter to go through the same struggles that me and my mum had gone through. So I was very conscious of, how can I do things differently? How can I learn to ask for support and go for what I wanted? I just want to add something here. Dawn said something, I have the secret ingredients, or a secret I'm going to share. I think there is definitely a blueprint, I'm not going to lie. But one of the things that I really wholeheartedly feel, and I'm speaking to you young people, as young people, especially in the environment you're raised now, you're pretty much raised in an instant gratitude environment. We didn't grow up like that. You know, walking down the street, we had to have so much respect for our adults and meet and greeting people. Everything was, we were always on edge about what would that adult think about us. So we had that reinforcement from home, school, and just general public. You're growing up in a very different society. And I'm really pleading with you young people, please work with your parents. You know, this cannot work if the whole family does not agree to work together as a team to build the bigger picture. It cannot work if one person doesn't agree to be a part of it on a daily basis. And one of the things I always say to my children at home is that when we go to work, sometimes when we choose a school, your parents might choose it for you, but sometimes you get to choose your school, right? But when it comes to family, it's so easy to become complacent and take each other for granted. I mean, our parents, our siblings, our aunts and uncles, our friends, we sometimes take what we have for granted. So what I'm going to share during this conversation, the only way this can work is if you make a daily commitment to work together as a team, to work together as a family, just like you spend time building friendships and building anything we need in life, we have to commit towards it. So sometimes in families, we forget that just because we're born with these people doesn't mean that we don't have to commit to them every day. So we need to actively show love and connectivity. So Dawn and I have had some amazing conversations. And one of the topics she asked me to speak about is teamwork. You know, teamwork makes the dream work. It's something, if you've come across my family before, we're often going on about teamwork makes the dream work. And it really does. But what does that, what is the essence of that? We all have dreams, and it means that each and every member of the family has a dream, and each and every member of the family's dream is valid. And we have multiple dreams, but in order for us to manifest those dreams and bring those dreams to fruition, we need to work together. We need to be able to sit down, talk, contribute, understanding that no one's really helping each other. We have a sense of responsibility because our blessings will run off over so we can impact people that are around us. So Dawn and I have had various conversations around this. And one of the things for parents, you are so blessed to have these young people in your lives. You know, when I became a mother, I was astounded by how many gifts, skills that you have as young people. It's not one. Some of us might think, oh, I'm just good at sport, or I'm just good at writing or art or engineering, science. It is not one. Once you tap into your genius, there is an abundance of skill sets there. And what you have to realize is, how do you actually allow them to come through. And as parents, how do we create environments to allow our children to practice that as often as possible and as organic as possible? Because I think there's something about plopping a child in a room and saying, go on, get on with it, you've got to do it, versus just letting them be and have fun with it. So some of the things that I've done with the kids, they're not all kids now. Lashai's 21, so you know she's an adult. So we've got Lashai here, Trey, Sean, Yasmin, Paolo, and Amire. Shay's 21, 17, Trey, Sean, Yasmin's 14, Paolo's 12, and Amire is 8. And what I want you to realize is that they're all very different. I am a mother times 5. I'm not a mother to 5. I'm a mother times 5. I have very different relationships with each and every child. But one thing is for sure, each and every child has a plethora of skill sets that not only myself, but they have also benefited from it. So once the child activates and starts sharing these skill sets, they can do some super cool things, which I'm not going to share. I'm going to let them share from their own mouths when they start talking, but we can start having some fun with this. And I guess there's a serious side to this. You know, you remember me saying I saw my mother struggle and she was on her own, and I wanted to have more than one child because I didn't want Lashai to be on her own. I didn't want her not to know who she was going to get support with. So I felt if she can be blessed with some siblings and each of the siblings can be blessed with each other, they have their team, they have the support system. And it really is a blessing to have family around. So I'm going to share just a little bit, but I'm going to let the kids share some more. And I know because Dawn wanted to ask some questions, so I wasn't sure what I was going to say just in case she was going to jump in. But the essence of what I want to share is that when you start working together as a family, something really magical happens. You start activating 1, 2, 3, no matter how big or small your family is, but you start activating as a family nucleus. And more importantly, you start creating a legacy very young, and you start creating what's called family legacy, you know, generational wealth. So we're no longer thinking about how can we get a job or just earn a salary or be an entrepreneur. And it's fine. You know, I'm not saying any one of them is wrong. What I am saying is as well as. One of the things people often hear me speak about is the as well as clause. It's how can I have a job as well as build this family empire? How can I be an entrepreneur but still tie into the family mechanism? And I think for families, we need to be very mindful about sitting down and having family meetings, because would you agree that if I have a vision, it doesn't mean it's the same as my other family member's vision? If my sibling has a vision, it doesn't mean we all have the same vision unless we sit down and discuss it. Okay, so if you imagine I'm in the kitchen, I'm gonna, I don't know, bake a chocolate cake, and then Paolo comes in and throws some raisins in, but that wasn't what I was trying to build. And then Yasmin comes in and kind of grates up some carrots, and it's still a cake, but what's happening, everyone's just kind of intermittently throwing in ingredients. Whereas if you sit down as a family and ask each and every person, what's your vision? Where do you want to go? How can we interconnect those moving pieces? Because sometimes people think, oh, I'm going into law, I'm going into sports, I'm going into media, and they're all different. No, they're all branches of the same tree. And it's really important as families that we plant that seed early on, so we don't just take our children to school. They go from school into secondary school into college, college into university. Why? Because we don't even have to do it in that order. We can take a child to primary school, they can sit there 11 plus, 16 plus, they can go off to college as a fast track, they can go off to university. These things are not restricted around ages, whereas we're taught very differently. So what I'm saying is when you have vision, the vision becomes the postcode for the soul. Magical things start happening in the family. You start firing off together. You all get creative. I've got a family on here that I'm not going to say your name. You'll talk when you need to, but you're doing some amazing things. And I really hope that you contribute to the conversation that we want to have here, because as a family, our message is very simple. How can we all sit around a table, have an intergenerational conversation and make magic happen? Kids are able to write books. They're able to solve the most complex problems if we give them a seat at the table. And young people, if your parents don't give you a seat at the table, barge your way in, bring a fold-up chair, don't stop nagging them. Because Lashai was maybe about this height, at 6 or 7, actually, because we moved to Ilford at the time. And I remember coming over, she said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm building my website." She goes, "It doesn't look like it." And I was struggling, fiddling around with the computer, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was struggling. And she said, "Why don't you put that over there?" And I was like, "Oh, Mummy's working, go and play." And it was the moment that I actually invited my children into my life when my life started to change. And I'm really inviting parents and families, and I can't emphasize enough, young people, work with your parents, okay? There are many stories I get to see where children feel they need to demand things. There's many young people who have been entrepreneurs and they think, because I've made $1 million, I don't need my parents anymore. And I can't emphasize enough that it's so important that we do the groundwork with our families before we start activating, because quite easily our children can become attached to using people and not stuff. And we want to make sure that kids are very grounded in the essence of using stuff and not people. I've heard many children become very rebellious towards their parents or disrespectful because of what's going on. And I have to add this because I've seen quite a lot of eruptions within families that they come together and all this starts happening, and the child somewhat questions, what's the role of the parent now? I don't need you for money. Or I've had kids go to shopping with their parents. They said, "Can I buy such and such?" And the parent might have said no. And the child will say, "Well, I've got money in my account." So it's really important that when we're getting on this, kind of activating this journey as a family, we all have this unanimous respect and support for each other as a family, so that we all get to the family goal, so that we all understand what the bigger picture is, because this isn't about fame and glory. It's not just about money. Money gives you choices, but money is a magnifying glass. It will only amplify who you already are. Does anyone have any questions, to be honest? Because I think I would love to. Actually, no, Dawn, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I know that you said before you wanted to ask some questions. How did you want this to flow? Or how much time did you want me to talk for? How much more?
Well, about 10-15 minutes, which is kind of up now, but okay. If you wanted to wind up with anything else you want to say at this stage, because you'll get another chance towards the end to say something.
Absolutely.
And also, if people want to ask questions as soon as you're finished, then that's fine.
Brilliant. So just to wrap up, in respect for Dawn and Alex. Hi, Alex, welcome. The key essence around what we're doing is, how do we position our children? Okay, that's the message. How do we position our children so they don't have to be auctioned off to the highest bidder? It's not just a waiting game and waiting to be chosen. So how we can position our children is realizing the most priceless commodity that you can give your child is things like respect, manners, and etiquette. Did someone else ask a question? Oh, sorry. Respect, manners, and etiquette. I think that these are the most important in the quest of developing our children and positioning our children. Let's prepare our children for opportunities so they can get ready and stay ready. To be quite honest with you, if that's the only thing we can do, because sometimes parents put a lot of pressure on themselves that I don't know this or I don't know that, there's always spaces where mentors come in. And the reason why I'm talking about respect and manners is because when people show up and want to hold your hand along the way, they're going to tap into how you operate as a family, how the parents conduct themselves and how the children conduct themselves. So this is going to be the saving grace that will open doors beyond your wildest dreams. And then we can get into the nitty gritty thereafter when Dawn comes back to me about how we kind of put those pieces together.
Thank you so much. And that was a really nice opener. And you're looking great tonight, by the way. You're looking fantastic. We have Alex here with us tonight. Alex, are you ready to take over, or are you still warming up?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Are you okay?
Okay, I just had a lot of technical problems tonight, so everything's just not operating as it normally does.
Oh.
And and my Wi-Fi has been just playing up. So I'm here. That's what matters. I'm here and I'm showing up. I'm showing up and I'm ready. So can you see me?
Yes, we can see you. We can see you. We've just had Mum speaking.
Right.
So we're probably going to ask a few questions to Mum first, and then you can take over to introduce us to each of the children, starting from the youngest onwards. Yeah?
Yes, that's fine. That's okay.
All right. So I'm going to ask the first question to Sabrina. Sabrina, did you find that while you were motivating your children to achieve, did you find any reluctance?
Sorry, that's an excellent question. Do you know what I love about this is that people have this expectation that my children do not defy me. They don't ever go, no, I'm not doing it. I had so much resistance, and I'm sure Trayshawn knows I'm coming to him. A comical story is that Lashai started first. They wrote their first book together, Kids That Dream Big. Shay was old enough to come along to events with me and training. She was partly homeschooled as well at the time. And Trayshawn looked and says, hey, I can read and write. Why can't I write the book with you? So he kind of bullied his way, and he was really smart at 7. And I thought that was amazing what he did, because it wasn't something I would have forced him to do. What was interesting is that as he got older, Lashai was doing more and more talks. And I remember him saying, I want to do some of this. I want to do that. Why always Shay? And I said to him, Shay has to do these things behind the scenes. She has to prepare this, and she's going over to train. And he was like, absolutely not. I want to play football. I want to buy trainers, and I want to buy a MacBook, and that's it. And if I can't do that, I'm not doing it. I was like, excuse me, how are you going to play football, buy a MacBook, not even a computer? So there was this thing where Trey wouldn't like reading. He could read. He was top sets, but he would not like reading the books I was telling him. So he would literally run around the house. And when Paolo was born, Paolo would run around the house as well. The girls were fine. They would sit down and read. And Amir's been okay, not like his other 2 brothers. I met so much resistance from the kids, not so much going on stage, because I always say to my kids, try something at least once, and then let's have a discussion around it. Give it a go. The resistance I got with Trayshawn was all about the money. It wasn't, he didn't want to earn I can't get my words out. He didn't want to earn what he saw as a small amount of money. So he wanted to charge his clients £1,000 when he first got started. He wanted to do everything the way he wanted to do. And what was beautiful for Trey is, if you remember Trayshawn actually got awarded an award from Unlimited. Unlimited are one of the best funders I've ever come across. They've been funding myself and different people we work with since 2006. They are amazing. So Shay got this award at 11, and he actually got the same award when he was 11. And did this young man prove me wrong? We went into the room. It was his first kind of formal mentors, because lots of people wouldn't work with kids at that time. I remember Denise. She is the best ever. Denise Ramsey. She took me to the side and she said, Mum, I'm his development mentor. I'm going to be working with him here at Unlimited. We treat every entrepreneur the same, whether irrespective of their age. And at the time they funded 11-year-olds. Trayshawn was so reluctant to most of my guidance, and he thought the world of Denise. Even if she said something that I had said, he was like, wow, I'd never heard this before. It was the best ever. And parents, wait for it. They are going to sway. They are going to move heaven and earth when people say things that you've been saying for years, and you're like, seriously? So I got it all. So kids will. It's about meeting halfway. Going back to the little short story, we were in Unlimited, and Denise got my son to stand up, and she asked him to walk his vision. Take one step. What's going to be the next step we're going to do with this money? Take the next step. At the time, he was 11. He got £500. Remember, Trey wanted trainers, a MacBook, and he liked football, and he supports Arsenal. And he wanted to have his event at Arsenal. He took that £500. He set up a GoFundMe link. He raised money to increase that amount so he could hire a room at Arsenal. He actually got a discount from Arsenal. He was so entrepreneurial. I was blown away, and it was not my doing. He managed to get the room down. he got his MacBook. Can you imagine? This young man had £500. He had his brand new trainers on the day, he had his MacBook, and he launched his first ever event at Arsenal Football Club, and it was called Bridging the Gap Between Fathers and Sons. So your children will surpass your wildest dreams. So I was like, you can't go have an event at Arsenal for £500. It won't even cover the food. So I've always had resistance, and it will show up. But what was really important is, let's sit at the table. Are you committing to being a part of the family? What's the benefit from this? Start with why. So sorry for the long-winded answer, but that story just popped into mind.
Oh, that's amazing. That is amazing. Well, look forward to hearing from Trey Shaw later on. Alex, over to you.
Man, that Trey's a genius already, man. That means he's showing up. The guy is showing up from a young age to say, right, I'm ready, and nothing's going to stop me. Not even my mother's going to stop me, man. That is amazing. That is amazing. That is amazing. You know, and congrats to Trey there. So we look forward to speaking to Trey. And, you know, Mum, you're awesome. Mum, hey, I always talk about confidence. When people speak, when people do many things in their lives, it's the confidence that they have to do the things they do. I can see from the very start that your kids have got your confidence. And so it doesn't matter what they've got in front of them. They have a mum that's full of confidence, that's going to go out there and do what she's got to do. So what do you expect the kids to do? Man, they're going to move mountains. They have to move mountains because they see an example of someone standing up and being counted. Isn't that true, Mum?
Do you know why I'm laughing? Alex, you don't keep on bringing me in. I'm going to talk too much. Do you know who taught me to be confident? I think sometimes we get misunderstood around confidence. I say that confidence is practicing something, and when you practice, you get there. But then confidence comes in the shape of having children. I had no choice but to shape up. My kids were like at home, you're strong, Mum, you're confident. I wasn't. I had so much issues around confidence. I had such low self-esteem. But when I went home with these lot, they really put me into shape. Like, honestly, we don't realize how sacred it is to become mothers sometimes. Go and do some research around stem cells that babies send to the mothers during pregnancy. I always felt that we carry our children into this world and it's all us in loving, engulfing. But there is scientific evidence that proves that when we carry these babies, they send stem cells to any damaged organs. And there are some indigenous cultures that believe that as we birth these children, they remove something spiritually that we have been battling. So when you've got kids, you know, whether you like it or not, you're going to have to shape up.
You're going to have to show up. I agree with you 100%. I'm not a mother myself, but I'm a father. I am a father. I'm not a mother. I've never birthed any kids into the world, but I've felt the sympathy pains with my wife during the time of birth. But I think I know what you're talking about, right? So tonight we have Amire, who's the youngest of the family, who's coming to speak to us now. And I'm sure that Amire, at the age of 8, you've got lots of things to say because you're the youngest and everyone wants to tell you what to do. Am I right, Amire?
Yes, so thank you, Mr. Gordon, and thank you, Dawn as well. So my name is Amire Salmi, aka Mr. Intelligent. I've written 6 books, 5 books on affirmations, and 1 book teaching kids how to play chess. So this is the chess book, teaching kids how to play chess. My affirmation book, this is so that's my affirmation book. And another one is, it has a tiny bit of affirmations in it, and there's also a journal in it. And I'm also the youngest ever STEM ambassador for Brunel University. And I also have my own affirmation card where they have like affirmations on them. And yeah, so that's something about
Amire, you are completely branded. You are branded from every aspect of what you do. So let me start with the affirmations. Amire, what made you do a book of affirmations? What triggered that?
So I really wanted to help people that were like really sad in life, because there were some times where I was sad and I would do affirmations in the mirror. So I do affirmations in the mirror every day.
Sorry, sir, you do affirmations in the mirror every day. So what do you do?
Yes.
Stand in front of the mirror and you just speak out? What do you do?
I look at myself in the mirror and I read the affirmation, and it's just telling myself that I am intelligent, I'm special, and also my purpose is to put a smile over 1 million people's faces, starting with you.
Oh my God, my God. See that? Hey, I don't know where you're watching from tonight. I don't know where you're watching from tonight. You need to listen to this young genius telling us tonight that you need to look into the mirror and speak to yourself. That is amazing, Amire. So when you speak to yourself and you say these things, what do you expect to happen?
I expect these things to happen, like I expect myself to be smart, happy, intelligent. Yeah, so the affirmations that I say, I just expect them to come true, like me being intelligent and smart. Yeah.
Other children your age, are they speaking affirmations like you?
Some kids, I'm not really sure, but some kids actually do. And is it okay if I read some of my affirmations?
Yes, by all means. Give us a sample, man.
Thank you. So I love my life. Is it okay if you guys can repeat after me? Or
hey, go on, give instructions, we'll follow.
Okay. I love my life.
I love my life.
I love my life.
I am lovely.
I
am lovely.
I am grateful.
I
am grateful.
I am peace.
I
I
am
am
peace.
I am grown.
I am
grown.
I am playful.
I
I am playful.
I am strong.
I am
strong.
I am free.
I am
I am free.
And I am a masterpiece.
I am a masterpiece. Amen.
Amire, say that one again, Amire. Say that last one again, Amire. Say it again with everything you've got.
I am a masterpiece.
I am a masterpiece.
See, at 8 years of age, this gentleman is saying that he's a masterpiece. And he's directed. Can you imagine what happens when this young man steps onto a stage in a conference in London, speaking to an audience of 100, 200 people? Can you imagine? Do you see yourself doing that, Amire, speaking to an audience in London?
Well, I have done that at I don't remember what it was called. It's called like the Virgin and at Best You, like there was like 200 people or something.
Wow, sorry, no. I apologize, Amire. I apologize. Forgive me. Amire says he's already done that. 200 people in a room speaking into their lives. Amire, this is amazing. So, what do you see? What's the biggest dream that you've now got for your life, Amire?
My biggest dream is to be a really good businessman and just to help a lot of people in the world to be happy. And yeah, that's it.
A lot of people in the world to be happy and be a businessman. Is there any idea of what kind of business you're thinking of?
I'm not sure. Like,
you're
maybe...
not sure. So are you going to continue writing, continue speaking? What is it?
Continue writing and speaking.
Continue writing and speaking. So we have a lot to look out for in the next 10 to 15 years, 5 to 10 years. We'll be seeing Amire mapping London as, what do you call yourself, Amire?
Pardon?
What do you call yourself?
Like what inspired me? Or
No. You wrote a book saying that you're intelligent. So what's your branding? What do you call yourself? How do you pitch yourself?
So I picture myself as Mr. Intelligent.
Mr. Intelligent. All right. Hey, guys.
Why.
So, hey, Amire, this is a promise, Amire. I'm going to ask your mum permission to interview you, Mr. Intelligent, on the Message Talk Show, because I just think you're an amazing young man. You have so much to give and you have so much inspiration. Just listening to you now is so encouraging. At 8 years of age. Is there anything that you want to say to the audience, Amire, as we move to the next speaker?
I just want to say to you guys, keep loving yourself and keep loving others and stay happy.
Keep loving yourself and stay happy. Let me ask this last question because I want to find out. Was mom ever hard on you, Amire? Was she hard on you?
No, not really.
Not really. You just did everything that mom says, yeah?
Yes, I did listen and yeah, that.
You did listen. That's amazing, Amire. Thank you so much, Amire.
Alex, and let Amir share with you the story as to where he got the brand from. Maybe he can tell you that little bit. It's a short story.
Amire, well, tell us a story. Where'd you get the brand from?
So basically, I went to like an event, and then I went to an event with my siblings. They all had brand, they all had book. I didn't have a brand or a book at the time. So then when we got home, I sat on the couch and I said to Mum, I really want to write a book. So Mum helped me that day to do some math to try and figure out like a book title. And something that came to mind was because I'm intelligent, easy as pie, affirmations.
Wow, that came to mind. I am intelligent, easy as pie, affirmations. Where can we find your books?
They're on Amazon. If you just type in Amire bin Salmi.
Amire bin Salmi on Amazon, you will find your. Hey guys, so go and find these books tonight. Don't miss this opportunity to go and get Mr. Intelligent's books. Thank you so much, Mr. Intelligent.
Thank you.
So now we have Paolo. Paolo.
Hello, Mr. Gordon, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. Just really excited to be here. Yeah, just absolutely amazing event.
An amazing, well, you see, when you're talking to amazing people like yourself, it has to be an amazing event. So what are you going to tell us, Paolo, tonight? What is it about what you've been doing that's kept you so inspired?
I would mainly say, just seeing my peers getting lost, how I did. I didn't want them to go down the same hole that I went down. What I mean in terms of that hole is a few years ago, I used to be addicted to like the gaming console. I used to play every day, every second, non-stop. Come back from home, drop the school bag, take off the coat, take off the shoes, because you know if you don't take off your shoes, you're getting shouted at. Like Mom's very keen on no shoes in the house. So take the shoes off, sit down, put on the game, and I started playing. And this would go on for several weeks into several years until my mom was like, it's the end of it. So she picked up the PS4, she checked it out. Yeah, so instead of remembering my amazing PS4, whatever type of console it was inside the house, safe and sound every day, and just before the rubbish man picked it up, I said bye to my console. And so it was a really hard time for me. It was a really, really hard
No,
time.
but-
Yeah, it was
It
very
was a hard time for you, losing. So what did you replace it with then? So now suddenly you had all this time on your hands, after school, on the weekends. What do you replace the time with?
Replace it with knowledge. And that's what my mom wanted to share with me, is that after she chucked it out, she told me about the serious effects that it had on me, and that the serious effects that it had on other people as well. Like, this thing can change your behavior, it can manipulate you, it can make you do some things that you've never done before. It can change behaviors in other people. It can make you not see. Like, it messes up your eyesight. So you're thinking this amazing console that I thought was my best friend to do so many bad things to me. And it was crazy. And it's done these bad things to me because I was addicted to it. And so after I saw that problem, I decided to write a book about it. So that book is about getting kids off their iPads and into the world. And it's just really about teaching kids that the console, although it's fun, it's not the best thing for you. And I done like a video on my Instagram a few weeks ago talking about the console. And what I said was that if you look at the word console, break it up into two words, you got the word con and the word soul. You think that it's helping you, but it's really conning your soul into believing what you're looking at is greater than everything in the world. And that's what I thought for a very long time.
Stop there. Repeat that again. You said the console is conning your soul. Man, you need to explain that one again, man. Kids out there listening and they're not getting this, man. You need to explain that again. That is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess it's something that comes up a lot of the time in our lives. It's the thing that we love the most that breaks us the most. You know, the console cons your soul because you think what you're looking at and what you're playing with and what you're enjoying is the best thing within the world. But what it's really doing is breaking you slowly, bit by bit by bit. And that doesn't mean you can't play the console at all, but it means you know the keys of not getting conned right in your soul. Buy this console, which is so amazing. Whether it's the latest edition PS5, well, it's conning your soul even more. The Xbox 360 is the older version, it cons your soul even more. It's the first one that came out, so it's conning your soul even more. And every day you want to play this console, but you really got to think, is this helping me? Is this growing me? Or is it breaking me further into the ground? And so that's really what motivates me. And just really the world, really. I want to see the world in a better place than where I left it.
You want to see the world in a better place than where you left it. Now, from writing that book about conning your soul, you know what, you have to patent that, you know, because I'm going to go out there and start talking about this, you know, because I just love that. I just love what you just said. It's conning your soul, because addiction in itself is conning your soul. Anything that you are addicted to that affects you in exactly the same way that you're talking about is really not good for you. And what you're expressing is about talking to your young peers about what they should be doing with their lives. Now, what do you think what do you think young people of your age should be focusing on at this time of their life?
Well, I guess they should just be focusing on fun, really. And it might sound contradictory because you may think that the console is fun, but that's not self-imposed fun. I think what kids should be focusing on is how to create fun. Like, I remember my mom telling me that she used to play games with marbles. And when I was playing the console, I was thinking, how do you make fun and imagination out of these tiny balls with little trolls in them? I was really confused. And it was like, it was so fun and we do it every day. And it didn't make sense to me. It did not make sense to me. It was like my mom was like one of the ancient humans that made fire with a flintstone and wood. It was very confusing to me. And so when I actually understood is that fun, real fun, is self-imposed, because the art of fun is being able to enjoy yourself without having anything else around. And, you know, fun is within the nature of humans. So throughout civilizations, the way we have developed is through fun. Now, if you think the first human on Earth didn't have any fun, well, then think again. Because if they didn't have fun, how do you think you're here today? If nothing is fun, you wouldn't want to be here. And if the first human on Earth didn't want to be here, you wouldn't have been here.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah, that's really what I think my peers should be focusing on.
So, okay, so you're saying about having fun at your age, but what about older people like myself then? Should I be having fun?
Well, a lot more fun things are available to adults, really. And that's where it gets worse, really, because when you become an adult, you're exposed to so many things that you may think is fun. Like literally, a lot of adults have heard like find gambling fun. And if you think about it, gambling is conning you, really, because it's making you think you're having fun, but it's also making you put your last pound in that game, really. And bit by bit, as you think you're having fun, think about after you lose all the money in your bank account. You're not going to have any fun. You're not going to have any more fun. So really, I guess with adults, how they can have fun is just bringing out the child within them. Everybody has a child within them, whether it's your favorite song on a Bluetooth speaker, or whether it's your favorite friend from school that comes around and starts saying the same jokes that they told you when you was in school. Everybody has their own way of making fun. You don't need a TV, you don't need a console, you don't need a laptop, you don't need a phone to have fun. Bring out the inner child within you. Doesn't matter what age you are, where you are, you can always have fun.
Wow. No matter how old you are, you can always have fun. You've got fun inside of you. So tell me this: in the last 2 years, we've been in lockdown. How have you had fun during lockdown?
That's an amazing question. But the best way for me to answer this is, if you think way back to the first humans on Earth, they didn't even know what lockdown was, really. Like, what was lockdown to them? And so it didn't matter what the weather circumstances were, and surely it was worse than our weather now. They were inside a lot of the time, really, but they still found a way to learn, to develop, to teach. So I think during this lockdown, it's just been an amazing opportunity, and I'm also keeping in mind the people have lost their lives through this time there. Yeah. But it's also been a great learning experience for me, because it's given me time to think back and reprogram, because I've been programmed so much. We've all been programmed so much through the world, by the world, through the TVs, through the laptops, through the phone. That's given me more time to deprogram what I've been programmed to do and reprogram and see what I need to do and see the real problems within the world. So I guess that would be the answer that I would give.
Hey, Paolo, that's an amazing answer. Do you realize that during lockdown, there's a lot of people out there who didn't even think that they could sit down and deprogram themselves? Do you realize that? And you're saying this, that people should be deprogramming from all the things they've looked, man. Whoa, here's $1 million question. What do you see yourself doing 10 years from now? 10 years from now?
10 years from now, I see myself, 5-10 years from now, because I'm going to do this quick. I know I'm going to do this quick, but 5 years from now, let's keep it at that. I want to be an engineer. And my mom knows a lot about this fashion, because it's put a big dent in Mum's bank account from all the things that I've been breaking and that she bought me, like toy cars and seeing how it's made, but not being able to put it back. Oops. But sorry, Mom, about that. But yeah, I really want to be an engineer one day, and it's definitely been something that I've always wanted to do. I love building. I love seeing how things are made, and I also want to be a philanthropist, giving back, and that's what I've already started. And it's a great question. What I'm going to do in 5 years, but it's also about what I want to do now. I think it's a great question that you asked. But what I'm doing now as well So I want to be a philanthropist, which I am now. I planted a forest in Tanzania, and I want to expand that forest. Right now it's at 10,000. I want to expand it to 1 million. So that's what I'm looking for in the next 5 years.
Wow. Now, you've got to pause there, Paolo. When you say amazing things like that, you can't just roll it off your tongue. You've got to say it slowly so the audience get what you're saying. Now, you just roll that off your tongue so quickly. Say that part again, Paolo, about what you want to grow.
So right now, I have a forest in Tanzania of 10,000 trees. By the next 5 years, I would like to grow it to 1 million or even more than that. And a bit like what you said, Miss Grant, at the beginning, the sky is not the limit. So I don't think my forest is going to stop at 1 million. It's going to keep on growing, and that's what I'm going to keep at. But yeah, that's where I hope for the next 5 years.
But what made you think of that? I mean, you're 12 years of age. What made you think of that? What got you to that kind of thought process?
I guess the air is really good around here. But really what got me thinking about that was I've seen so many people cutting down trees and so many people not thinking about the things that they're using, polluting the planet, dropping their plastic on the floor and being so lazy that they couldn't just reach out a tiny bit more and drop it into the bin. And it was a really big problem for me. And after I stopped gaming, I started looking at the raw things within life, and I saw that why am I not giving back to something that is always given to me? Like, it's a big question that I've been asking myself, that I asked myself before I started planting trees, is that if something that's given to you your whole life, taking what you can't do and giving you what you can do, why not give back? And it's not even called giving back. Why am I not doing what I need to do? Giving back is helping someone, or just doing an act of kindness, but it's not giving back when it's something that's providing for you. It's called doing what you're meant to do. So that, I guess that's the main reason why I plant these trees and why I want to grow it.
Paolo, do you realize you're talking way beyond your years? This type of conversation, this is not the type of conversation you're having in with your peers at school. Am I right?
Well, no. But there are other kids out there, and I want to acknowledge that. There are other kids out there that I personally know that share some of the same vision as mine. But when I used to go to school, no, they were just talking about how Ronaldo scored 3 goals in one match. But that's really what the main conversation was about. But really, with my project in growing the forest, I also want to spread awareness around this to other kids around the world.
So you want to help re-educate young kids around the world about what they should be doing. Deprogramming and being environmentally friendly. Yeah. That's amazing. What is the one thing that you'd like to say right now that you would want your generation to focus on now? What would that be?
I would just say, do what you have to do now and leave a legacy that can be carried on next generation. That would be something that I would say.
Hey, Dawn, I'm in trouble here, Dawn. I've got a 12-year-old talking about legacy, Dawn. I've got a 12-year-old talking about legacy, leaving a legacy, encouraging his generation to leave a legacy.
They are amazing.
That is amazing.
They are amazing, seriously. He's talking like he's 50 years old, isn't he?
Man, he's talking way beyond his years, giving advice, mentoring and coaching a generation. Wow. Paolo, that's amazing. Thank you so much for being a student, Paolo, because in order to be the person you are right now, you had to be a very good student. Am I correct?
Yeah, I'm a student of life. Really, and that's what I consider myself.
So you never stop being a student, Paolo?
No, until I stop breathing, I will never stop being a student. That's what
Oh man, you see, now you're talking. You said, until I stop dreaming. Oh my God. Until I stop dreaming, I'll never stop being a student of life. Why did you say that?
Because I believe that until the day I stop being on this planet, I will never stop learning. Mainly because, just going back to an analogy of when you go to college, you learn from teachers. When you leave college, you learn even more than what the teachers have taught you through the class, to being in the class and being a student of life. And life, I guess, until the day you stop dreaming or breathing, whatever you'd like to call it, you never stop being a student, because there's so much things to learn, and there's so much things that you don't know, which is important to know, is that you don't know, and you don't know everything. Like what you know now could be just a tiny bit of what's out there. So that's why I say, until you stop dreaming or until you stop breathing, I will never stop being a student of life.
Whew, my God. Wow, Paolo, I thank you so much for just expressing yourself this way, and for talking about, you know, the things that are dearest to you. You know, I think one of the things that you said earlier was about your game console. And that's a revelation in itself, because until you put away the game console, all these other things could never have blossomed out of you the way they have, because the game console was conning you. Wow, I thank you so much for that, Paolo. And I'm sure the audience is out there writing down their questions, putting down their questions, because later we're gonna have some questions from the audience. So now I want to go to Yasmin. Yasmin, we've heard from the guys. Now I want to go to Yasmin. Yasmin,
Hi.
Are you here? Hi, Yasmin.
Can you hear me?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, I'm just having a great evening, Yasmin. You know, I'm having a great evening, man. This is the best evening this week, talking to you guys and hearing these ideas. This is amazing. So, Yasmin, who are you in the midst of everything that's happening in your family? Who are you?
Well, first of all, my name's Yasmin Salmi. I'm 14 years old. I'm an author, a public speaker, and a mentor. And my purpose is to eradicate low self-esteem by increasing and improving self-love within all people from all walks of life. So my journey kind of started back when I was in school, where I was bullied. And that really gave me a thought of, you know, is this the person that I'm going to be, you know, being bullied and, you know, just staying in the corner and not doing anything about it, and then having low self-esteem, you know, not wanting to talk to anybody. And that led to me, you know, not wanting to talk to my family, to friends, or even just to teachers as well, because I was bullied that much. And, you know, I just felt as though, you know, if that person didn't like me, would the world like me as well? So I started to have self-doubt as well. Our mum started to take us to personal development events, where I started to learn a little bit more about how I can channel my energy, how I can help others, and how I can also help myself. So I then started to write books varied on self-love, how to teach people how to live a life of love and, you know, joy and happiness. I've also written a book teaching girls about their menstrual cycle and female empowerment. I've recently released a book called The Choice Is Yours, I'm Not Just a Pretty Face Because I'm Intelligent Too. And that is on women empowerment, teaching women that, you know, our body and our, you know, our outside or our physique and our, you know, appearance isn't just everything, because we have things that we want to add to the world. So in that book, there's an acronym teaching people and, you know, those who want to learn more about a female's perspective of how, you know, females were told, you know, because you're this certain gender, you can't do this. Or even nowadays where we may be higher up than some males, but yet we're still being paid less. So that's one issue that I wanted to, you know, fix. So I wrote that book. And one of the areas that I'd like to go into when I grow up is to become either a dermatologist or an anesthesiologist / a surgeon. So I wrote a book with a medical illustrator, and he is the first Black medical illustrator who made history, and his name is called Chidiberry Ibe. So I wrote a book with him, and it's here with me now. It was absolutely amazing being on this journey with him. So this is one of his illustrations, and he's got more illustrations in the book. So all of our books are available on Amazon. So I guess my journey kind of started from me finding what I was passionate about and then teaching other people what they can then turn their, their hobbies, their side hustles into, things that they can teach other people to do, make money into it, and, just live life being happy. Some events that I've spoken at is Chelsea, Virgin, and the Best You Expo with over 15,000 attendees for the 2 days. And I've also spoken at a technology company called Equinix, where I taught all of their employees self-love. And, you may find it a bit weird, as though, being a 14-year-old and I know a lot about self-love, happiness, and that then you come to an event where you're then teaching adults how to be happy and to love themselves. So I got like a little bit of an insight of, it wasn't that they didn't know what it was, but they didn't know how to, love themselves, because they've been through so much trauma during their lives, where they thought that, is this where I'm just going to be, not knowing self-love, not knowing how to be happy. So over that course of, speaking to those employees and, giving them insight of how they can be happy, how they can love themselves, and also how they can project love to others too, I came up with a 3-pillar system, and that includes something to do, someone to love, and something to hope for. And those 3 pillars really tied into, everything of life. As humans, we need to be occupied. So that was something to do. We also need someone to love, whether that is ourselves, our family members, our friends, or even just a pet. And the last pillar is something to hope for. We need to have action steps where we know that's what we want and what we're going to do to get it. So that is something to hope for. So when I went through that stage, I started to realize, although I came up with this now, this really ties a lot into my journey. I had to find something to do, which was, to motivate, to inspire the next generation, to inspire adults and people like me. I had to find something to love, which was the struggle with finding, self-love. And my little brother Amire, he was the one that taught me about affirmations as well, where it really started to, hit me at a point where I went, well, isn't this something that they should teach children in schools? They never really teach children about how to, love themselves, how to make themselves happier. So I guess that's where I learned that aspect of loving myself from my little brother. And it really got me to, finding quotes to do with self-love. And I've got one with me here today. And it says, if you're looking for that one person that will change your life, take a look in the mirror. So I had to take that look in the mirror. And I had to do that multiple times. And, sometimes it may be uncomfortable, seeing your reflection many times and not knowing what to do. But once you, find that one time where, you're grounded, you know who you are and you know what you want to do, you have to take that moment and, appreciate yourself. Because, one thing that I would love to tell everybody is that, we may have friends that, we think are going to stick with us throughout the rest of our lives. But, that doesn't always happen. Sometimes people, will tell you how great you are and then leave you. So that's one thing that I had to learn, nobody lasts forever. And, we stay with ourselves forever. So why not make ourselves our best friend? So that was the quote. And, something that I'd like to lead you guys off with as a quote is, don't fear failure. Instead, fear being in the same place today as you are next year.
Wow. Don't fear failure. Fear being in the same place. Finish that for me.
As you are today next year.
As you are today next year. Now, you have very much expressed yourself in writing and speaking. What was the catalyst for you in helping you to formulate your thoughts and to then commit yourself to writing? What was the catalyst for this?
Well, I guess finding my topics, finding what I wanted to teach people, and also finding what I wanted to learn myself. I never really found tools that, were aimed at young people, teaching them how to love themselves and, self-love and everything. So I guess I just wanted to write what I'd love to be taught.
So you found a gap in the market from a very early age for your age group.
Yes.
That wasn't being served by schools, by the library, by anyone else.
Yes.
That is amazing. So when you realized that there was a gap, who helped you put the thoughts together?
Well, the family and my mum as well. My mum is basically, you know, what helped everybody. So I guess finding our unique talents, and then, you know, my mum majored in computer science. So, you know, that was one of her specialities as well.
Wow. Now I'm intrigued that you did the book with the medical professional. Was that illustration book you did?
Yes, this one.
Now, what triggered that book?
Okay, so that is a good question. Well, I guess from a young age, I've always loved the aspect of, you know, helping people. So then I dived deeper into, you know, looking at how I can serve people more. So I guess one of the fields that I really, all the time, I've always wanted to, you know, go into was either to become an anesthesiologist, a dermatologist, or a plastic surgeon. And, you know, seeing the effects in social media, how, you know, people are told that they have to look a certain way in order to have, you know, certain followers, or certain people tell them that, you know, you are enough and everything. So I guess I really wanted to change the perspective of how surgery is projected through social media, as, you know, sometimes it's for cosmetic reasons. So I guess I just wanted to help people to, you know, remove pain or past traumas by, you know, through a simple surgery. So that's basically where the idea is spirited from.
Wow. Oh, I am blown away with the depth of your ideas, your thoughts, and you talk a lot about self-love. You talk a lot about self-love, you know, the imagery. Why do you think self-love is such a big key for this generation?
Well, I guess because we lack so much about, you know, taking care for ourselves, and think a lot more about, you know, others. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with, you know, catering to other people's needs, but sometimes when we cater too much to other people's needs, we neglect our self needs. So I guess really as a generation now, where everybody's so tied into, you know, who looks at me, how many followers do I have, and how many views do I get? And, you know, you kind of think, well, who is that person behind the views and the followers? You know, what does that person like? What is that person's hobbies? So I guess that's what I really want to teach people, that, you know, you can have the amazing followers, the amazing views, but you also need to have, you know, time for yourself. I like to call it me time, where, you know, you might just sit down, watch your favorite TV show, listen to music, or even, you know, just do whatever you love to do. Some of the things that I like to do in my spare time is to journal. So I guess, you know, finding me time, and that's where I think, you know, self-love ties into all of it.
Wow, so you're talking about getting beyond those Instagram likes, you know,
Yes.
Getting caught up with taking away, what's it called? Taking away the mask on the Instagram to find the real person, you
Yes.
know, and not being totally photoshopped all the time, photoshopped to look this way, to be that way. So you're a person who, you know where you're going, you know what you want to become when you get older.
Yes.
What would you say to young ladies of your age group who's struggling to decide, struggling to make those decisions for themselves, struggling to find themselves, to find that self-love, and to chart a direction for their lives? What would you say to that generation?
Well, I guess as an analogy that I would put it in, you know, as the world, as we have social media and we have, you know, people telling us different ways we should do this, it's like us being a sieve. And, you know, the world's got the tap on, and they're telling us, oh, we're going to feed you this much, and, you know, you're going to fill up. But as you're a sieve, there's holes, you know, you're lacking, you know, who to trust, what to listen to, and, you know, where to turn to. So it's mainly just, you know, learning to turn off the tap and replace the sieve with a cup, and, you know, fill up that knowledge or that time. And, you know, really know that, you know, if you want something that bad, you'll do anything to do it or to get it. So I guess that's what.
So you said, replace the sieve with a cup.
Yes.
And fill up yourself with knowledge. Where do you go to fill yourself with all this knowledge? Because if what you said, there was a gap in the schools. There was a gap in the schools, and you found a gap that they weren't catering for your age group. So where would you go to find this knowledge?
Okay, so that is another good question. Well, if you think about it, we stay in school for 18 years and we're told that we need to learn all these subjects, we need to ace all these tests. But do they really discuss about, do they really discuss what you want to do when you grow up or what steps you're going to take in order to be that thing? So I guess where we need to find it is, not in schools, but through, elders, through, I guess this will revert back to a quote that, a lot of people use, and it's like, it takes a village to raise a child. So always going back to find those people who knew what they were going to do, who knew where they wanted to go, and go back to them, ask them questions, pick their brains sometimes. And I guess, it's not always best to, find like research on the internet. Sometimes it's good to revert back to books, start reading, start filling yourself up with knowledge, because they can tell you so much things on social media, but when you go read a book you find so much more. So I guess filling yourself up with knowledge by reading, by connecting with people, and sometimes stay off social media for a bit.
Wow, stay off. Yasmin says, stay off social media, shut down the Instagram accounts, shut down the Facebook accounts, and go and read the book. Yasmin, thank you so much for just expressing yourself, for what you're doing. And your books can also be found on Amazon?
Yes.
Yes, both hardback and Kindle versions as well?
And paperback, yes.
Yes, okay. So guys, ladies and gentlemen, go and buy the books. Go and find the books. Go and share those books with your young people, with your friends, and with your peers, because I think this is so valuable. Just to hear a young person talk about self-love, talk about in such depth about how to give yourself self-love and how to become a better person by filling yourself with knowledge. Yasmin, thank you so much for just being yourself. It's amazing. So now we have the gentleman called Trey. The gentleman called Trey. Now, when I came on, Mum was saying that Trey is all about the money. Trey is about the money. The other brothers and sisters so far haven't mentioned money so far. So Trey is the money man. Trey is the man that keeps the money coming into the family. No, you're not going to do that because it's not profitable enough. Trey, where are you?
Here I am. Thanks a lot for having me. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Trey. So how are you this evening, Trey?
Yeah, feeling good. You're
feeling good. So Trey, I gather that you are this kind of business focused person. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
What made you kind of develop this concept and these ideas to be more business focused than anything else?
Well, so like over the past probably like 9 years or so, after being involved in the personal development arena, like we've gone to a load of events, and I mean a load of events. And I'd seen my mum like connect up so many different people, and always like she was known literally as the global connector. She was connecting up everyone with everyone and getting them to do all these amazing things. And I was all for it. But then I was always like, Mum, like you need, like all of us actually, we're all like, Mum, you need to be taking percentages off of this. Because people be making crazy amounts of money off of Mum connecting them, giving them ideas, helping them out, spending hours and hours and hours on the phone with them. And literally, like some of them wouldn't even say thank you. And I was like, Mum, like, come on, enough is enough. Like, yes, I get it. Like, like Mum's really big on giving back, helping out, and we're all for it. Like, it definitely makes sense. That's how we got started as a family. But it's a give and take relationship. Like, there needs to be some form of transaction made. Like, at the moment, I'm currently studying economics, and if mum was to run an economy the way that she did back then, the economy would not last very long. So it's definitely something that I'm really big on, because at the end of the day, like, everything is constantly going around in a circle. There has to be that flow of money. So you need to make sure you're involved.
One of the things that you just mentioned, you said that you went a lot to personal development events.
Yeah.
What was it about the personal development events that caught your attention specifically?
So initially it was not the talking, like not the talking whatsoever. Like this was the very first book I wrote, by the way, because I Dream Big. And this is what actually got me.
Sorry, what's it called? What is it called?
Kids That Dream Big, Essential Tips on How You Can Make Money Doing What You Love. It was the very first book that I wrote alongside my older sister, who's going to be talking after me. And this book was literally the only reason why I wanted to go to events. Because like being into making money and having low confidence at the time, it was literally the best. It was both the best and the worst experience at the same time. Because yes, I didn't like to talk, so it was a huge challenge for me and really did push me outside my comfort zone. But then I thought of it, okay, yeah, I might be shy, I might be embarrassed, I might even want to, I don't know, go and hide in the corner for a couple of minutes. But at the end of the day, I walk out with some money. So that's literally what really encouraged me to head along with mom to these personal development events. And also they taught us about like all these funnels and how you can make money in your sleep. And that is when I really like I had notes and did not want to miss a single thing, to the point where like friends would be messaging mom like, I'm at an event, please, I'm putting my phone, don't disturb, I'm trying to listen. But yeah, that's what really caught my eye.
Okay, so before we go into funnels, because now you're exploding into something that I'm thinking, wow, that's about making money. When you went to these events and you brought your book, did you actually sell the book at the event?
Yes, absolutely. Like, I definitely had to. Like every event, I'd be making sure I had my books. I'd even delegate out to my siblings so they would then go ahead and sell my books. I'm not doing any of the work, but I'm still getting a percentage. Like if it was really that daunting for me, I'd make sure I was getting the money somewhere.
It was child labor with no paying fee.
It was hard labor. So you had your affiliates working for you, taking a percentage.
Before I knew about them.
Of the deal. That's amazing. So you went to personal development events, you sold your books, and now you mentioned talking about funnels. So where did you catch on to funnels? When did that happen?
So that happened at this event, which is where actually sort of like the birthing of Paolo's brand, the Pint Venture, came to life. And this was an event called How to Build Your Brand, where they took you through how to establish your presence online and like get things like funnels set up. And from there was when like I got into all of that, got onto Twitter, grew my account really quickly. I don't use Twitter anymore though. And there was also a app at the time called Clout, where it was like a really powerful app, and you were able to get in touch with like some really big players. And I pretty much dedicated a couple months to getting to sort of like the top 5% on the app. And that was something I was able to do. It wasn't easy, but it was definitely worth it. And so that was pretty much the event where we were then able to like establish Paolo's brand, and where we learned about ClickFunnels. And then all of that work then actually got put into, I guess, like yes, it was obviously great going to that event, but there were a few things missing here and there. So then in 2017, when Lashai got a scholarship by a lady named Regan Hillier, myself, my mother, and Lashai flew out to Bali for a week. It was an amazing experience where we were then able to just really get all of these little pieces here and there to allow us to just bring our work to life.
Wow. So when you say bring your work to life, what do you mean?
I mean, like just coming up with a structure, a plan, and really attainable goals. As yes, it's great having these goals. Like you can say you want to make £1 million, I don't know, by the end of the month. But realistically, if you're struggling to make, I don't know, £10 a month and you want to make £1 million a month, yes, it's great to have goals and dream big, but you need to have goals which are attainable. Things that are pushing you to an extent, but aren't pretty much just crazy. Like, yes, you can pretty much achieve anything you set your mind to, as long as you're able to reverse engineer So in that way, you're able to have these little increments and those little steps along the way. So you know that, okay, for instance, like trading, when people think about trading and like things like crypto stocks, they think, oh my gosh, I'm going to go in one day for £100 and come out a millionaire in maybe a day, a week, or something like that. And if you've gone started, I'm pretty sure you'd know that's not the case. Whereas if you're able to think of it instead of the numbers, instead of thinking about that, you're thinking, okay, I want to make 2% a day, and that is the cap. Meaning that when you hit that 2%, that's it. Regardless of how enticing a trade may seem, you know that that is it. That's your limit for the day, saying that we're able to get consistent returns.
Wow, man, where have you been lecturing? Where have you been lecturing? Where have you been teaching this information? So, what are some of the goals that you've put in place for yourself that you've achieved, you've attained, or you're very close to attaining? What are some of the goals that you've had?
So there's sort of like a set monthly amount that I'd like to be making myself. There's both through like books, speaking and everything like that, but then also on the trading side of things. At the moment, I'm trying to, like, myself and my older sister, we are both like getting into like things like crypto and different like that. Lashai made an NFT for Paolo, like I think 2-3 weeks ago, if I'm correct.
Wow.
So we're just getting ourselves used to where things work, because as if you were to look at things like crypto, you'd see that the volatility is really, really crazy in comparison to stocks. So just getting used to that. Another form of trading, which is called options trading, is something that I'm currently learning. Definitely getting better at, as at my school, we are learning about that in this elective that I'm a part of. And just, as Paolo said, literally just trying to learn throughout life, really. So it's something that is never going to stop. Like, for instance, I have a load of books to get through, which I'm getting through piece by piece, and learning slowly. But another life goal of mine is to work on eradicating poverty by teaching over 1 million people about financial education.
Whew. Teaching over 1 million people about financial education. So
a lot of work.
This is not the type of conversation you're having with your 17-year-old peers, am I right?
Actually, the college I'm currently at, we are then able to have like a load of conversations like this. Like this morning, I think 10:30, we had an economic society where we discussed like world matters, like things stock related, crypto related, as we are all well established in our own different area of expertise. So like there's one kid who's like heavily into crypto, like he's really good. He's even made his own software, and like we're all like discussing things like this. So before, it was quite difficult, and like being into money myself, I knew how I was able to bring others on board. Like you told them, like, you can make money, everyone's ears are going to start to open. So that's what I used to bring people in before. Whereas now everyone just gets it. Like you say, like, do you want to talk about, I don't know, the crisis that took place in, I think it was Yemen or something like that, and how that's had an effect on certain stocks or the cryptocurrency market or something like that.
Wow. So let me pose you a question then. You're an economics student. You're someone who looks at the world crisis. You're someone who looks at making money. You're someone who wants to help people with financial education. What would you suggest is a path for the British economy to follow right now? Coming from where we are, locked down, coming from a stagnant economy, what do you think we should be doing right now? What advice would you give?
Absolutely. Well, to start off, I'd like to say this is not financial advice. I'm just sharing, and you can use any of this.
That's your disclaimer. That's your disclaimer straight away. Okay.
Absolutely. But yeah, it's just about looking for opportunity. Like there's a quote, and I'm pretty sure eventually you will hear it if you haven't already, where it's where everyone is scared, that's a window of opportunity. I think it's by a man called Mike Maloney. But yeah, literally just think about the things that we are going to be using. if we are to go into another lockdown. Like, for instance, I think Zoom share prices were at between 50 to 80 pounds a share. And throughout lockdown, everyone's been using it. Everyone's been using Zoom. In fact, we're on it right now. And their stock price then soared into the 250s range, something like that. So it's just about thinking about, okay, yes, we're in a lockdown currently, but we're not going to be in a lockdown for 10, 15 years. So looking at that and seeing both short-term gains that are able to be made, but also long-term. Like, for instance, my one of my peers in the Economic Society, when we first went into lockdown, he invested heavily into Weatherspoons because he thought, okay, where's the place that everyone's going to want to go once everyone's allowed out? There's football coming, there's all sorts of sports coming, sports competitions coming. Where does everyone gather? Where do you, like, I'm not too sure if the women would like to go there as much, but I'm pretty sure that a load of men gather at pubs and things like that. So then he was able to think that, okay, like, as people are just going to want a break, they're going to want a place to go watch something and just let off steam. And just really, this ties into something that Mum taught us about the different ways that we are then able to feel worthy. And by going to like that place where you're there watching, chilling with friends and then getting a few drinks, something like that, you feel a sense of connection. As you don't have to, like, it also just allows you to unplug from life, like Yasmin was saying about turning off social media, as you're then able to sit back, relax, and literally forget about everything. You're just in the moment, being present, and he just saw that as an opportunity. So that's something that, like, you're then able to see, but then also about, there's, what's his name? I don't remember the guy's name, but he came up with this Keynesian model, and basically he believes that whenever governments get involved, they actually tend to make it worse. And it's about seeing how sometimes there's nothing that the government can do. Like, it's pretty much out of their power because they have this like fiscal policy, which is basically the national debt. And every time they get close to hitting that national debt, they keep rising that, because obviously they can't get to the place where they exceed their national debt. Otherwise, pretty much everything's gonna fall. People lose, like, consumer confidence falls, business confidence falls, and no one is gonna want to invest in the economy. And before you know it, that's it. Government failure and all hell breaks loose. So I guess just seeing, looking at that, seeing how you've been able to, I guess, like, see past all of these different things to see how you're then able to prepare for the future, really.
Man, you're the next chancellor. You are the next chancellor. You are the next chancellor. You know, I would imagine that Sir Alan Sugar would probably love to see you on his show. Wouldn't you agree with that? Wouldn't you agree that Sir Alan Sugar would probably love to see you on his show, demonstrating your business acumen?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Great. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for sharing with us, for opening up and sharing and just being yourself. It's just so relaxing to see how you've kind of built your confidence and how the influences. And I'm able to see that you're not just about yourself. You've mentioned your brothers, you've mentioned your sister. You're a complete team with your mother in terms of building your own economy. That is amazing. And I thank you so much for that. And you make sure that the money is coming in. That is one lesson you must understand. The money must keep coming in. So now we're going to go to Lashai. Lashai?
Yes, that's right. Thank you so much.
Now, I think you're the eldest one in the family. Is there a lot of pressure on you to then think, what do you do to be yourself?
Well, the first part of that, I think there's natural pressure of being the eldest, wanting to set a good example, trying to help keep them in line, because obviously we have an umbrellaing goal, but we're all pursuing very different things. So trying to keep everyone in check, make sure that everyone's all right. But I think we've all tapped into areas that we're very passionate about, like myself. a lot of my work is around philanthropy, giving back, supporting young people, and being the role model I wish I had. So there isn't an artificial pressure as such, because it does feel quite organic with what I'm doing and what we're all doing as a family. So I think there's more excitement than pressure.
So what are you doing as an individual that's opening up the passion, the dreams in you?
Yeah, so I myself, so similar to Yasmin, I was bullied in primary school at a very young age. That was quite difficult for me. And then mum had to take me out of school because she noticed the change in my character and the school wasn't providing any support. So I went through this period of time where I sort of had to rebuild myself and regain my confidence and understand who I was as a person. I was about 7 or 8 at the time. And because mum didn't want to leave me in childcare, she started to bring me to these personal development events and business events. And as a kid, initially, I was like, I don't know what's going on. I'm fighting social anxiety because I don't really like being in packed spaces anymore. Everyone's old because everyone was like 20 up at the time. So I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? But as a child, we're sponges. So I was picking up all these bits of information, and then say when there was like breakout groups and there were adults sharing their problems or troubles, I'd be like, oh, here's a simple solution. And it really became a huge passion of mine to want to translate everything I was learning in those environments into a way that young people could understand and also access. So that's what really triggered me to go on this journey. And ever since, I've done public speaking on numerous international and national platforms, won multiple awards. But for me, it isn't really about the accolades or the super cool titles. It's about the on the ground impact that I'm having, and also tapping in and seeing if it's still in alignment. I think for any of us here, sometimes we get really good at a thing and we just keep doing it because we're good at it. But sometimes it's really good to check in and make sure that your passion and your mission is evolving with you. So yeah, that's what I bring to the table.
When you say you're checking in to make sure that it's in alignment, what do you mean by that?
Okay, yes, so just making sure that whatever you're pursuing it's happening with ease, grace, and flow. There's no strain. I think there's a difference between strain and sort of growing yourself. When you're growing, you might feel as though there's a little bit of turbulence and it might be uncomfortable, but when there's strain, you're pulling weight that isn't yours. So it's always important to check in. As a young person, I began on this journey at the age of 8 or 9. And I had to go through several evolutions because I was the inspirational kid, and then I was the inspirational kid again, but I was feeling like a teenager, but people saw me as a kid still, and then becoming an adult and people saying, oh, like you guys the kids and this and that. But I'm now an adult. So just making sure that you sort of really own who you are and allow what you're doing to evolve with you. Because I think it's completely natural as a young person to want to pursue more than one thing, or to want to do one thing for a year or 6 months, then evolve into something else. But it's always good to have those internal check-ins, the same way we, at least British people, I feel like we're really over polite, we'll over apologize or over check in, but make sure that we're doing that internally as well.
But what about the pressure from your peers? Because I imagine that from a very early age, you said you were going to conferences at the age of 7, so you were working things out in your own head, even though you never understood what was happening around you, but you were forever working things out in your own head. I'm sure that you would have had pressures from your peers to be doing something different.
Yes, so interestingly enough for me, so between the ages of about 7 and about 10 or 11, I wasn't in school, so my peers were adults. So they wasn't really putting that much pressure on me because I could blink and they would say it was amazing. But it was going.
What do you mean you could blink and they would say it was amazing?
Because I think at that time, kids were just so anti whatever their parents were doing. And I was coming with my mum to these events, super excited and interested and presenting all these ideas. So everyone was super supportive in those situations and settings. But it was when I went back into school, it was sort of like living the double life. I found myself having to have the Superman identity. Do I tell the kids in school what I do? Will they understand it? And then when I would share certain things, it wouldn't be well received. So it was quite a difficult time for me. It wasn't like anyone blatantly said, oh, public speaking isn't cool. but it's the microaggressions from teachers and from the environment, and you notice how people react to certain things. So it was quite difficult, and I had to wear quite a few hats, but with time, like friendships or in workspaces, you tend to go through processes of weeding out the wrong people and the right ones stick around.
I would be sure that teachers would want to encourage you. What do you mean by microaggression from teachers? They see you performing, they see you doing things, and they're going to say, wow, and encourage you and give you advice. Isn't that so?
That's what you would hope. And especially as a parent, when you're sending your kids to these institutes, you hope that they're going to be a version of you that's going to also help to educate them. But school can be a really terrifying place at times. I would take in books and ask if I can donate them and add them to the school library, and they would say no, we don't want it, or we don't need it, and they would be really cold and rude about certain things. So it is crazy, because especially if you're just coming from a place of wanting to serve, it did get really frustrating at times. But yeah.
How did that affect you as a young person? You're growing, you're hearing all these things that your mum's saying and the seminars you're going to. When you found a contradiction in the very place that you're supposed to be learning, how did you feel about that?
I think for some people, it would be a complete turn-off. It might want to make you stop doing what you're doing or just want to conform to the norm. But for me, I've always been someone that loves learning and assessing situations. So I learned how to read situations and how to be very aware of my environments and what will be acceptable in certain spaces. And that doesn't mean I conformed to their norm of just chucking everything I'd done away, but I understood you can only help people that want to be helped. So if I'm putting in all this effort, wanting to give to the school, wanting to help, wanting to do X, Y, and Z, and it's not being received with open arms, it got to a point where I just said, okay, I had to sort of point my attention elsewhere. So I started doing my own online and offline events and working with other organizations to pour into those environments. But sometimes we spend a lot of time trying to hammer down walls that are made of steel and stone that aren't going to move. And there are a lot more malleable environments that we can start on. And hopefully one day the other environments evolve and become more open to things. But I definitely like to see where I can direct my energy so it has the most impact.
So who were the people that were ready to receive what you had to say?
And so I was fortunate enough. First, it was my mom and at home, because I know some other people weren't as fortunate. They didn't grow up in environments where their parents would listen to their ideas and what they thought. They were sort of seen and not heard, and they weren't allowed to have an opinion. So I was very fortunate for that. But then I found that it was like millionaires and multimillionaires and world leaders that were open to what I wanted to say, rather than me trying to help a peer or someone that was in a low income area that we were thinking that, wow, we've come from this background, we want to help you grow as well. But a lot of people slammed the doors in our faces, and it was these really high level people that were open to what we had to share. And fortunately enough, we were able to develop those relationships and find amazing ways to give back. But sometimes it isn't the person that you're sitting next to that's going to be accepting of your help. You sometimes have to go a few steps up the ladder.
So you've grown up hearing the word no quite a few times.
Yes.
And doors shutting just because of you being you, doors are shutting in your face because people are not wanting to receive what you have to give.
Yeah.
Wow. So in time, you started to put in your own online events, and I've just seen that you have a YouTube channel. Yes, you have a YouTube channel. So what do you teach on your YouTube channel?
So YouTube, that's a bit of a funny story. So if we touch back on the idea that I believe that young people are super multifaceted. I don't like the fact that schools like, you have to be this one thing or you have to be that one thing. I wanted to be so many different things, and I was compressed and told that I can't be all these different things, but I decided to do it anyway. YouTube was free. So I had so much support from mom, and I was like, Mom, I really want to do something completely on my own and just see if it works out and where it goes. So I've always been super passionate about cultural connectivity, learning about different cultures, entertainment and media. So I set up this YouTube channel where I would make reactions to Korean music videos and make edit videos to improve my own skills. And it was literally just for my own reference and to have fun with it. And it started to grow. I cultivated a community of like-minded individuals. And ever since, I've been able to work with the Korean government. We put on cultural exchange events, and yeah, I'm just super about connectivity. So it's quite different from the rest of my work.
Don't blow my mind. Don't blow my mind. You work with the Korean government on cultural connectivity. You're even doing things that some of our own governments can't do. That's amazing. So how has this developed your own career? Everything that you've done, how has this developed your own career?
Well, extensively. If anyone's curious or want to connect further, definitely do check out my website or our LinkedIn's. But unlike some other kids, like whereas Yasmin's amazing, she's super like, I want to be a doctor. I just knew that I wanted to have a positive impact. So everything that I've been able to get under my belt in terms of accolades and titles and experience and businesses and stuff have just happened through me actively wanting to learn and grow and pursue them. So yeah, it just really organically happened. I grew, and I might have gone to an event, because I've always been quite an introvert, quite quiet person. So I'd an event and I wouldn't want anyone to know that I was there, but things organically happen. People see your unique spark, you get invited into environments, but just always be open-minded. Sometimes we disqualify ourselves from environments or communities and different things because we think, oh, there's no connectivity there, or I don't know enough to do X, Y, and Z. But just through me being open to things, if you asked me at 8 or 10 when I was just wanting to do motivational speaking, if I thought I would be working with the Korean government, I would say no, that's super random. But sometimes there's so many intricate and beautiful connections that we develop in life, and it's just about going with it.
That's amazing. And I just saw a note that you taught yourself the Korean language.
A little bit.
A little bit. You know, I find it amazing that someone like yourself would turn around and say that you're an introvert. You know, you just rolled that off your tongue so easy that, you know, I'm an introvert. Now, why would you ever think that you're an introvert?
See, I think there is quite a negative stigma around both being an introvert and an extrovert, because people see introverts as these like scared people that want to stay in the corner in the dark, and extroverts as these loud, overindulgent people. But I think there's beauty in both. When I sort of identify myself as an introvert, is that I'm more of a listener rather than needing to be at the front. There's a saying that we like to share at home, is that anyone, that leaders can lead from anywhere. You can lead from the front, the middle, or the back. And naturally, I would be somewhere in the middle. Like I'm happy to help a few people. I wasn't confident enough to be at the front, and not necessarily not confident enough, but I think we organically fall into our unique place. So I'm not the first one that's going to be like, yes, I want to give the talk at the front of the class. I'm happy to help the peers and I'll talk to most of the students, but I wouldn't be the first one to put my hand up. And it was a skill that I had to learn. Like I had such low confidence because of the bullying, and I wasn't a natural extrovert. But I think it's about learning how to tap into different energies and different spaces so that you can have the most impact. I had to learn how to public speak because I could have a bigger impact on young people by being able to speak to many and not just one-to-one. But naturally, I'm a homebody. I like staying at home. The siblings are like, oh, I want to go to an event, this or that. And I'm like, I'm okay.
So you didn't go on stage, but you would teach from the middle of the room. So you build relationships with people. So you're very good at building relationships and honing those relationships. So. Even as far as on your YouTube channel going across the world. That's amazing. So what is it that you would see? What would you want to see happening for your generation now in the next 5 or 6 years? At the age you are now, what would you want to see happening for that generation, for your generation?
I think, well, my generation, but I guess across all generations, because it's having that multi-generational conversation that's really going to save us and save us so much time and effort when there's a lot more cohesion. So that's why I'm super passionate about, one, the cultural connectivity, because if this culture has knowledge around this thing and another one has knowledge around this thing, if they can just come together, won't it make things 10 times easier or 10 times faster? So I think in these coming years, I really hope that more conversations are had in terms of connectivity, that the younger generation taps into the knowledge of the older generation, and the older generation taps into the creativity and the freshness of the young generation. So I'm just hoping that there's more of that communication inviting young people into more of the spaces and being in power and spaces of decision making. Because I feel like things will get a lot easier. Some world problems, if you turn the news on for a 7-year-old today, they would say, oh, why don't they just stop arguing, put the bombs away and just shake hands and be friends? Why don't they go play together? Sometimes solutions are so easy and we just need that younger, innocent and fresh perspective on things.
Sure, you're sharing information with me now that not even some of the older generation know of or even want to hear. They're completely lost when it comes to some of the stuff you're talking about. And you're talking about, you know, multi conversations, different conversations with different generations. How do you expect then? How do you see yourself kind of pulling all these different age groups together to share this information?
That's a really good question. So me personally, having the background in business and personal development and also some in the entertainment space, sometimes laughter and entertainment is the easiest way to pull people together. When do you get a family that has like 4-year-olds to 50 or 60-year-olds together? When they're watching a movie or when they're watching a program or when they're watching videos. So sometimes through conscious content, because there's tons of mindless stuff on the internet, we all have our guilty pleasures of what we might binge. But if there's more conscious content out there, that's sort of encourages the soft power of introducing conversations. And like there's a YouTube platform that we absolutely adore as a family called Jubilee, because they open up so many multicultural and multi-generational conversations about everyday things and some really complex things. They have like Trump supporters sitting opposite to people that supported Obama, and these really nitty-gritty conversations, but they're presented in a way that the playing field sort of leveled, and then as an audience you can then open those conversations up in the house. So I think entertainment and social media platforms are going to be a big part of the conversation, but it's just making sure that we're taking a part in producing the conscious content and also igniting those conversations within the home.
Wow, that point you just made about being a part of creating that conscious content, because that is so important to be in the creation mode. So we're helping to dispel ideas that people have about things. We're helping to shape people's thoughts through what we're creating. I see a bright future with people like yourself just saying what you're saying, you know, just saying what you're saying and expounding what you're saying. And you're thinking, this is amazing. 10, 15 years from now, people like yourself will be running the country, will be running the government, will be shaping in such a massive way. What would you want to say to a group of young people right now about shaping their own future?
I would say continue the creativity. Young people are so creative right now. There are so many young people that within the dark spaces of the first lockdowns and so much ambiguity in the world, they created businesses, launched platforms and done so many amazing things. But I think is encouraging young people to be more conscious of who they want to be. Everything isn't about following a trend or what's in or the quick next best thing. Platforms like TikTok have been so amazing and impactful positively, but it's also promoted like instant gratification. I just want like more. So tapping back into who you are, tapping into your core, slowing it down a bit, owning who you are, because sometimes you open social media and you're exposed to so many different things that you didn't even ask for. So it's really protecting your energy, tapping in, and just being intentional as you can with how you represent yourself, how you communicate with others, and just be you.
Wow. Lashai, thank you so much for just sharing, for just being yourself, and for just so consciously just helping us to understand that there's a bigger conversation that we need to have through the generations to shape and make things happen. Thank you so much this evening for sharing your thoughts and for just opening up yourself tonight. This is amazing. Thank you, Lashai. And now we come to the lady, the mum, the person, the shaper, the creator, the one person that everybody refers to. Every person tonight has referred to this one person as the shaper, as the creator, as helping to make things happen. bringing them to conferences from the age of 7 years old, dragging them to conferences. You sit there and listen to this. My Sabrina, where are you?
I am here. I'm here. It's been a pleasure talking to all of you.
Sabrina, I'm just lost for words. I am lost for words, because if you were being paid to teach a generation, right now you've earned billions already. Just teaching your children, shaping their thoughts, influencing the way they behave, the way they carry themselves, the way they think, just the way they think about life is so far beyond their years. I'm saying, Sabrina, how did you get to that point whereby you saw this ahead of time? Did you see this happening?
Wow, you're really good with these questions. Yes and no. I didn't see the magnitude of that which presents now. This is like, it's always surreal. Like when my kids speak, I get so super excited because, you know, it's coming from their heart. I'm like, wow, you never said that before. You changed that. It's really invigorating to be the observer. I think us as parents, we have to realize we're not parents in terms of this ownership. We are stewards. We are stewards, and our children gift us their childhood. So seeing these 5 magical beings in my house sharing the essence of who they are with me is such a gift. And did I see it? I've got a very deep connection with my creator. I felt very much that I was under the instruction not to intervene with what's already in there.
Wow.
There's a beautiful poem. I forgot the name of the gentleman. Is Killer. I forgot the name. How can I forget it? It's called Our Children. It's one of my favorite poems. And if you send me a WhatsApp, that's my auto response. But just as a snippet, it tells us that our children are not our true children. They are the children of tomorrow. They don't belong to us. They merely come through us. And that's really shaped how I've stewarded my children, because at a very early age, all of our children present to us an essence of their gifts. They give us a sneak peek of who they are. And I think our role, not so much jobs, you know, we don't have a user manual, we all do our best, every parent does. But I think our role is that when a child shows up in a family, it's a time to be open to relearn about life, relearn about ourselves, and relearn about what we really understand. And it really taps into that paradox of knowledge. The more we know, the more we realize there is to know. And what I would say is the bit that I love the most when we share as a family is that people look at the kids and they say, wow, and I'm in love with them, you know, I'm their mama. I'm the kind of person that goes to the school plays and I'm crying because my son's a leaf and he's you know, so as a parent, our kids don't have to do much for you to just be in awe. But I think it's really important that parents see what we are doing and what we're not doing. Please don't observe and think, oh, wow, what are they doing? Observe and come and join in the party. There's a seat for you at the table. Right. All of what we're doing will make no sense if you can't come and take a seat at the table. In your house, you have some young souls that have come into your family for a specific purpose. Often we imprison our children, not intentionally, but we imprison them by how far we think they can go. Imagine if I told Paolo not to be adventurous and kept him in the house. And he didn't teach me how to break those boundaries. By listening to Paolo and hearing his perspective on life, he taught me that rules, he said to me that rules weren't optioned. And each time you look at them, depending on where you are, you can manipulate them ever so much. And I was like, sorry. And he taught me to live life on the edge. We have a bouncy castle in the garden and it had an enclosure, and he would go out and toss himself, and I'm frightened. And me as his mother, I would have held him back. But his adventurous personality has meant that we have friends around the world that I couldn't fathom even existed, let alone Paolo running past the door knowing he's done something wrong. Mum, you have a call at 5 o'clock. He's managed to find someone, pair me up with a meeting without my permission. And there I am sitting in front of a millionaire, a billionaire. And it's not about the finances. I'm talking about people who are heart-centered, who want to transform the world. And Paolo found him because of his heart. And Paolo has this quote that he says, stop following a compass your entire life, because the real compass is inside of you and it's your heart. And when you have a young boy at the age of 10 look into your eyes and tell you that, or if he tells you, Mum, why'd you bring everyone into your house? You're supposed to have contextual relationships. When you have Lashai saying, Mum, love yourself, be strong. When Trey Sean's like, what's the figure on that? When does the money arrive? And when Amire says to you, Mum, what about the boundaries? What about the rules? And then Yasmin comes along and cements it, says that all of it isn't worth anything without love. So I think what we're really trying to communicate as a family is that these young people are a reflection of what is possible when we allow young people to grow. I can see young people on here, and I know that when I was 7 years old, if my mum had the support that she needed at the time, I was unstoppable. I think us mature ones in the room can know that when you're 19 and 20, 25, there's an energy that runs through us that we felt that we could fly. We felt we were unstoppable. So what happens in society? So as a family, what we stand for is, where's the village? We're really blowing on that horn and saying, now's time. Now's the time for us all to gather, for us to have those intergenerational conversations. The young people are ready, because every young person that births into this reality comes with a unique gifting to solve the issues of tomorrow. So why are we so concerned? You know, we all used to help our parents, you know, we can be honest. And I know you young people, my kids help me right now. I have no idea what NFT is. And then Shay was like, do this and do that. I said, just leave me. There's part of this that I just won't get. Just do what you need to do. And it's about understanding that. I remember tuning in my mum's TV, fixing the VCR, or she'll say, Sabrina, press play. And I said, Mum, it's the same universal image on every control. Why do I have to find it for you? So there's every young people sees the world through a perspective that if we only just give them a moment, they will be able to transform and expand our awareness. And I think it's for us as adults to look into our young people and give them the two things that will stop them from thinking that they're not valued and they're not loved. Tell them that you love them, and tell them that there's nothing they need to do, be, or have in order for them to be enough to you. You know, our young people are crying out for help. There is nothing wrong with our young people. They are just a symptom of a root problem that's going on within our homes, within our communities. And as a family, we plead for anybody that picks this up via audio, watches the replay, get involved, because you're really being called home. When we choose to remember, we connect to our ancestors. I loved what some of my kids said about, I'm not helping, this is not help. We've failed ourselves for long enough. You know, Yasmin's not going to become the first doctor. There were doctors before her, right? Trey Sean's not going to be the first wealth manager. You know, Lashai is not going to be the first person that stood forth and connected those cultures. Paolo's not going to be the first person that planted the seeds for the forest. Amire is not going to be the first who told us to affirm. But one thing for sure, that they are calling to us as elders to hand down a baton of what's already been happening. Yasmin's not the first to tell you to love yourself. But why is it that we're allowing our children to have indefinite leave to remain on the streets, to think that they landed on this planet on their own and no one cares, and they have to figure it all out themselves? It's time that we stop. Enough's enough. Let's stop going to schools and going to governments and asking people to do X, Y, Z. They're our children. They are our children. Okay.
Sabrina, I'm lost for words right now of what you just said, and hearing everything you said tonight. We're looking at the outcome. We're looking at years of you growing your family, you pouring into your family, and we now see the outcome and we're thinking, great. But what was the struggle like to get here?
Have you got 10 hours?
No.
What was the struggle like?
No, we haven't got 10 hours, Sabrina, so please, I know you like talking, let's condense this.
Beautiful. Excellent question. Let's just keep it real. The struggle was real. Raising children without any family to turn to. My mum's here. My mum was at every one of my children's births. She stood by the fathers as they passed out, and she was like, "Get up, you've got things to do." The struggle was real because we never had the village to lean on. It's an absolute honour to have Mum here today. It's also an honour to have Reverend Dr. Trevor Adams here. We met Reverend at Brunel University. Brunel funds my children's STEM. Amire was made the youngest ever honorary STEM ambassador because of a beautiful soul called Leslie Warren. And this Leslie Warren, I hope you watch this, she is a troublesome soul. She said, "You need to speak to Reverend, you need to speak to Sabrina." And she knew what she was doing. But Reverend and I feel very called to make an active shift within our community. So the struggle was real because, unfortunately, when you have gaps of the males not showing up, it leaves gaps in the hearts of their children. The struggle was real because when I was growing up, I didn't know what it was like to have a father hold your hand and protect you. I looked at Mum, and when Mum had to protect me on one occasion, I was hit. The police were called. They said they can't see a red mark on me, and I'm slightly fairer than what I was. Like I was royal black, beautiful blue, beautiful black. So there was no red gonna show up. And the two officers said that unless there's something we can evidence, we can't take any action. So my mum said, "Well, that means that you'll come back for me in the evening." She had to address the matter herself. And during the time when she approached a teenager, he was like 19 or so, he basically hit my mum. And I remember going to court some moments after that. And my mum asks family to come because she says that if she actually gets convicted for hitting this young man who hurt her and hurt her child, she would have to go down and I would go into care. Do you know how many people turned up on that day? No one. I looked at my mum and I knew that if she went, I would have no one to turn to. Okay, so that struggle was real. I used to go to sleep and wake up each morning and feel that if my mum ever passed away, no one will be at the funeral. I used to think, why does my dad not like me? Why am I not good enough? And people used to bully me. They would say that, you know, on the West Indian side, I was this African, a dirty African. I smelt bad like an African. So that the pain was real. And all of that pain is really what fueled me to do what I did with my children. But I grew up with a lot of identity issues. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know where I was going. But there was something inside of me that never turned off. Like God gave me a mission and I knew it at 7. And I knew that if I basically had childhood illness. There's an interview that Dawn has done, so I won't go into too much. But when Mum told me that I died several times during my childhood, I realized that often we're waiting for that partner, that friend, that mum, that dad to tell us that we're good enough. And I went straight to God, straight to source. And I said, if God's given me a chance to live, take me, use me, make me what you want me to be, so the whole world can see that you can do whatever you want to do, whatever you want to do. And I asked God to use me, and I asked him to give my life meaning. So that struggle was real. When I became a single mum, the struggle was amplified because I felt, wow, I'm going to go down the same road I saw my mum go down. But I looked at my daughter, she looked at me. I was petrified, but also excited. And I said that because I became a single mum, I'm going to make sure that your significant other will see you doing well, thriving. But more importantly, I'm going to make sure you become the most loving, kind, caring person. And you're going to go around the world, you're going to touch many hearts, and you won't have to do it on your own. So each time they came in, the struggle's real. Trey Sean had respiratory issues right up until the age of 16. 2018, he almost died in the middle of the city. And the paramedic looked at me and I signed to him, is he going to be okay? He said, no. Let that sink in. Part of training, they never said no. But for a mother to see a paramedic shake their head, and I knew that I didn't come this far, keeping this child alive all these years, and he wasn't going to make it. He was here for a reason. I looked at him. I yelled at him the most I could ever yell. And I said, open your eyes. And I wasn't talking to his body. I just realized that there were too many generational struggles within our family. I knew that my family, the number 5, is actually spiritual for grace. The struggle was real, but we weren't done yet. So each and every child has had their own struggles. We've had our own ups and downs. I've had, if you want to talk about rejection, it's all been there. I've been diagnosed with dyslexia, you name it, we've had it, financial. We have been subjectified to everything that people can say, well, I can't because, and God wants you to see the family and know that you can. I'm right here, keep going. Here's the opportunity for you. Here's an example. Let's just get on with it. But we need to get together and reactivate our village.
Profound.
My last question to you, Sabrina, and this is not going to be a long one, but it's very obvious that the center of your focus is your faith. And you're talking about the village, you're talking about the village for support. How important is it to have that central focus in your life of faith to help you do what you've got to do?
That's a beautiful question. I'd love to know where you're getting these questions from. So it's not important. That's the foundation of who we are. You see, when I was growing up, God was at the forefront. Fast forward 2022, where? We don't sing about it in school anymore. Everyone's just off on their own little excursions. And there's a calling in me that's so strong that without God, without the village, there's always going to be issues, always. And we're seeing it as an option. It's not an option. It's just the way it is. You see, whether we like to know it, say it or not, each and every one of us has a connection to source. We all call it by a different name, but like they say, a rose by any other name is still a rose. You know, we've gone into all this new age now, and we call it universe, and we call it this and that. We all know what we're referring to. So firstly, my faith. Secondly, the village. Why? Because I say so? No, because that's what it was in the beginning. Why are we interfering with the fundamentals, the key fundamental elements of what's there? The reason why we have so much chaos, there's been so much division. There's been so much separation. Mothers don't talk to daughters, daughters don't talk to sons, siblings don't talk to each other. So what I'm echoing is really that through our faith, it brings us all back into alignment. Through what was already there, there's already a blueprint. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. The problem is we all wanted to act like rebellious children and run around and say, I don't want to do it that way. I want to do it my own way. And look where we are today. We need each other. Yasmin's 14. She said, we need someone to love, something to hope for. Why? How does she know? How do babies come into this life and we don't have to teach babies love? Why don't we have to teach a baby that this is a smile, but babies are taught anger and disconnect? We got all of the signs are there. So I'm absolutely in awe of the questions that you've asked, because they trigger a lot of thought. And I really hope that whoever sees this live or the recording activates the part of themselves that they've never given themselves permission to share with the world, because that's what's needed right now.
Sabrina, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sabrina. Thank you so much for just being the person, being you, being the mother, and helping a generation. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching the Ben Salmi's Family interview. The Ben Salmi's Family award-winning video is on the blackeconomics.co.uk website. So go there and get all the information you need. And Dawn, Dawn, hey, Dawn, I don't, tonight has just been phenomenal, Dawn. Tonight has just been phenomenal. We're just hearing the stories coming from the children, coming from the young people, coming from the boys, coming from the girls. And when you hear it, it is so heartfelt. It's so heartfelt. It's so heart connecting. And truth has a way of clearing the path. Truth has a way of clearing the path. And tonight, truth has cleared a path in our minds, in our heart.
I think what they've said is profound, Alex, you know, all of them. It's just profound. It's just amazing what's coming out of the mouths of young lives. And we're going to keep in touch with all of the family. I think it'd be useful maybe in a year's time to have a follow-up on this. But I think there are going to be other things that we're doing with them. So well done, Sabrina. And well done to Amire, to Paolo, to Yasmin, to Trayshawn, to Lashai. Well done. And to Mary as well. Mary, you produced an amazing girl in Sabrina. All right, I know times might have been hard, but you know, as they say, that's life. Life is tough, and you know, and then we have good times. But you have produced an amazing daughter. I mean,
thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
I call her a genius, seriously.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. It's been my pleasure.
Yeah, and you must have been a great influence to her, even if perhaps sometimes you didn't realize it. You must have been a fantastic influence, and I'm so glad you're still there, perhaps helping to influence the grandchildren's lives too, you know.
And you, Sabrina, came here for a great reason, because remember, she nearly lost her 3 times. She came here for a purpose, just like the children. So sometimes, even by yourself, you must push forward.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, Mary, and thank you for being. Guys have got so much to say, and you almost don't want to stop them. You want to listen to them all night. But thank you to everyone, and we will see you again soon. Thank you, Alex, for hosting. Thank you for coming through. Thank you for the amazingly intelligent questions you are asking. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
See you next time.
Oh, okay. Bye.